Welcome to the Happiness Happens podcast. I'm Simona Nicole, host of the show, mindset coach, and motivational speaker. I've made it my mission to help you get unstuck, shift your mindset, and understand your worth to help you live your most purposeful life. Each week, I will bring you an idea, guest, or a positive thought that will leave you inspired and empowered to win your life. We decide the stories we tell ourselves and where we invest our energy. I'm so grateful you popped in. Now let's dive in. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Happiness Happens podcast. I'm so excited for today's guest. We are all cozied up here at the Happiness Happens studio, aka in our basement apartment. Whoop, whoop. I have on the show today, I have my fiancé Steve, and have so many fun questions to dive into today, and so many things that we're going to talk about. So first, to get us started off, can you tell us a little bit about what you do for people who don't necessarily know you yet?
Oh, okay. So my name is Steven Singh. I am 27. Career-wise, I am a apprentice mechanic at a performance shop, doing performance cars.
Come on, give him a shout out.
Oh, Boost Theory out in Oakville.
There we go.
There we go.
Shout out to the boys.
Shameless plug right there. And yeah, so that's what I do career-wise. And just like hobby-wise, I guess like a tinkerer, creator, designer of like little things here and there, and their own kind of respect.
Yeah. We currently have a 3D printer going in the background right now, and making some fun test things for the podcast brand. So I'm really excited about that. Okay. So I got a question for you from Instagram. Someone DM'd the question.
Okay.
And it was, how do two ambitious people balance work and time with their spouse/partner? We can both answer it if you want. We can bounce around on it.
Actually, that's actually a really good question for the both of us. So, okay, one more time. So how do two people balance work and time doing their passion?
Yeah.
And between each other?
Yeah.
Personally, I think work best for us is like our schedules, knowing what you're doing the week or even weeks to come. And I think the biggest thing for us especially was we take the time for each other, right? Yeah. And so basically, like when weekends like to come around, like, 6 o'clock rolls around at work on a Saturday, for example, like that's my cutoff because I know I want to come home and spend the rest of that time with you, for example.
Exactly.
That's my example of that.
And then at the same time, though, I know that you're coming home at 6 o'clock. So I make sure to get all of my things done before 6.
Yeah.
So that I don't have to worry about it or be stressed about doing anything while you're home.
Yeah. So that's the biggest thing, is just knowing everyone's timeline and communicating that between the two. Because if you can't communicate it, you always feel like there's this sense of like really like you're constrained for time.
Yeah.
And time is a big thing for me. Like as soon as, like me personally, and you see it too, when I come home, I like to shower, put my dishes away, do my dishes, get dinner all said and done. So then that way, whatever time we have left in the evening, we can actually spend that time together.
Right.
Like I'm not, how often do you come home and see me just sleeping on the couch,
Maybe once in a blue moon. But also, I think we can all tell right now how I actually find the time to do anything in my business. It's because I have a partner that's amazing and like does the dishes and cooks and picks up like where I leave off. Hey, yeah, I don't do much of it. I won't even lie. Like I made dinner tonight, but it was great. But
no, you do stuff.
I do. But like more of it comes from you, because it's almost like it's just that balance. It's like that ability to do that, which is really good. But I also like what you said there. You said something about communication. And I think that, when you have two ambitious people who are doing something completely different things, we work in very completely different industries, different trades, different jobs, like, or even our entrepreneurial businesses are completely different. For me, one thing that's been so key has been time blocking.
Yeah.
So I block my time so that, I batch it so that it's not like, every day I'm doing stuff for like hours and hours and hours. Like I'll just do a couple things in a span of 2 hours and be like, okay, at this time I'm going to stop doing this. I'm going to do this from here to here, and like that kind of thing. So it helps in that way too.
That definitely helps with the scheduling kind of thing. Cause, you know, like I said, like communication is a huge role, even if sending a person that text because your schedule is broken at, like, let's say we plan, or I plan to be home at 7, something keeps me back, and I can at least send you a message or give you a call or whatever and say, hey, I won't be here until 7:30. Now, you know, I'm respecting your time, and you can actually use that next half hour to do other stuff, right? You can maybe work on yourself for more, some more for your business, or even just get something done around the house. Give someone else a call, right? Like, time is very important. So I totally get the question. It makes a lot of sense. It, and the biggest reward, actually, like me personally, you'll probably feel the same when I say it, is like when you get to know when to cut off a certain thing and just focus on your significant other. It's a huge, it feels very like gratifying and rewarding. And it's like like, I feel like when you build yourself up, it builds me up as well too. So that's a, that's a, that's a big key part, you know. That's how I feel about it.
Cute tears.
No,
It's so cute.
there's no napkins.
You know, it's so funny. You were saying, you know, before, like, oh yeah, you know, you have an extra half an hour, and like I can do things like, you know, do something around the house. That was a subtle hint.
Oh,
No,
I didn't even clue in on that.
I'm just kidding.
My inner demons came out.
It's it's not working.
Right.
No, I'm just kidding. Okay, so you have played a huge role in my personal development. You're pretty much the catalyst as to why I even started doing anything that I do to begin with. You know, what advice would you give someone, you know, or give to someone else who might not be sure how to support their spouse when they're growing or when they're learning something new, and trying to discover who they are again?
This is like a.
We're getting deep.
This
On
is
question number 2.
Question number 2 might be a 2-parter. I'll touch on the first thing of when you have someone else, like your significant other, for example, if they're getting into something that they found as a new passion, whether they stick with it or not, support them in it. And the reason why is because having a sense of like a community, a team effort definitely makes things a lot easier and a lot better. Especially like, you know, for example, for your podcast, you said you wanted to do it, but you just didn't know where to start, you know? So I just started doing my research in my free time, and I found a microphone. What was a good microphone? Okay. You could find the best one. You could find the worst one. You could find the one that's in between. You don't need to start off with the best, right?
Yeah.
Well,
I have the best. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, you do have a really good microphone, right? But the thing is like, you don't need to start off with the best. You know, it's like your first car. Your first car isn't always the best car you're gonna get, but you're gonna learn to understand it, the responsibilities behind it, and then that way when you get your next car, you know, it's gonna be a little bit nicer. You know, you're gonna take care of it even better. You know, things like that. You build up to it. So just find that one small piece that will help start your business, or your passion, or whatever it may be. My passion is to work on cars. What that one small piece was, just buying a small mechanics tool set and just taking small little bolts off my car, putting them back in. I didn't have to be taking a motor out. No, I was doing light bulbs, and I thought that was fascinating at the time, right?
And spark plugs. Those were the thing. When we first started dating, you were like, hey, can I change your spark plugs for you? And I was like, okay, sure. Yeah. And I was like, what's a spark plug?
And I'm like, it's this thing that like ignites the fuel.
Yeah. And then he like pulled it out of the engine, and he's like, look, see like how broken this one was? And I was like, oh my God. I was like, is it dangerous? And he's like, yeah, it
totally.
is.
I just saved
like,
your life.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, look at him
exactly
go. Saved my life.
That's exactly how it went.
Oh my God.
Sorry, I'm a little bit parched.
Oh, that's okay.
So that was the first one. The second one is supporting your spouse when they're growing is the next thing. That's like the relationship side of things. Obviously, when your spouse is going through a big change in their life, I don't want to say, sorry, I don't want to say that the spouse is gonna grow past you or leave you behind, but supporting them at least lets you keep up with them in a sense. It's like, okay, for example, you're running your business, right? Okay, good. You might have to cut this part out.
No, we're not cutting anything.
Oh boy, this is
it's full throttle.
Yeah, it's a full throttle. I got a mishmash of stuff here.
Well, I think what you're trying to say is like when you start something, you don't want to like leave the person behind, right? And so you choose to grow together. And then when one person is like doing something, it like influences you to do more too. If you're an ambitious person, though, because not everyone's an ambitious person.
That is totally true. Yeah, and even if you aren't an ambitious person, what you could kind of do is take away something that from this, like from that experience as well, is that even if you support this person through it, you get this again feeling of, you're strengthening the person, you're helping them grow. Me personally, I love to see people grow. I don't like to see people just staying in one place, like whether it be like you starting your podcast. Okay, that's great, because now you're learning this technology behind it, you're building your community, and like you're expanding your horizons, and it applies to anything and everything, right? I kind of like to, at the end of the day, or even at the end of my work day, I sit in my car for 5 minutes and I go, okay, what did I do today that allowed me to grow, allowed me to do better? Now, not only for my job, but also the interactions I had with people as well too. And that'll apply with your relationship, because when you see them grow, they're learning, they're doing better for themselves, because at the end of the day, all of that's going to come home, and, you want to have that like positivity there.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
exactly.
I think, that should be part 2 for that question.
I like that.
Right.
Okay, to spin off of that,
mm-hmm.
What would you tell someone who maybe comes home to their spouse, the spouse has a really stressful day, to make sure that you're not, building walls up in your relationship, but you're instead being more understanding and helping them through that?
Right. So, a person who comes home, has a stressful day, and, just ask them how the day went. And they go, oh, it was very stressful. And try and break down the scenario and see why it was stressful, and understand why that person felt stressed, right? Sometimes some people you just don't click with, and it creates a stressful moment, or there's a certain moment where there's pressure from an outside source that makes it stressful, right? And just try and target that, and just trying to talk about it. Just definitely communicate it, get an understanding, and try and just, you have a person who's on this end of the spectrum saying, has this negativity. We kind of want to take them from here and bring them over to the positive side. And even if it's like neutral, it's still better neutral and positive than it is negative, right?
So true.
Because, mindset is almost everything, right? And you don't want to, and you don't want to take that home and stew on it and just sit on it. And next thing you know, you get this compound effect of like, you go back to your job the next day and you still have this on your mind, right? Yesterday was yesterday. What you're trying to do is build for tomorrow, kind of thing.
Exactly.
Right?
Oh my God. I don't think I could have said it any better myself.
It's true. That's what I'm here for.
I love it.
Right?
Okay, what do you think defines a good relationship?
Defines a good relationship. Are we looking for one thing or a multitude of things?
Whatever you feel like sharing.
It
could be just one solid one. You can have like a couple solid ones. A couple more chill ones.
Actually, I think I have like 2 or 3 good ones. The first one is definitely the communication part. Knowing where you are at in your life, where your significant other is at in their life, and what they want to do in the future. That way, it's almost like a preparation for them, a preparation for yourself, for the things that you guys want to do together. Because that's what you guys are going to be doing. Is we're doing stuff together, right? Like we're getting married, so I know that in like 5 months now. Oh, yeah, in like 5-ish months.
It's crazy. For everyone who's listening to the audio and can't see my facial reactions and expressions, tune into YouTube.
Yeah, definitely go into YouTube and see the prototype Happiness Happens t-shirt. Another shameless plug. Yeah, this was phase 1.
That was phase 1. Also a gift from Steve. He was the first original creator of the Happiness Happens podcast t-shirts. So
More merch
Yeah.
to come soon. Actually,
Yeah.
that's what the 3D printer is doing right now.
Yes.
Test stuff. Anyways, so definitely the communication part is the biggest thing. Just knowing where people are at in their lives. The second part, I think, is also building up on yourself as well too. Not getting into a relationship and just stopping your life and just stopping everything you're doing just to try and make the other person happy. Because that, me personally, is when I think, when a person does get left behind, because you built this person up so far, and then, you're starting getting these emotions like, oh, where did my time go? What happened to me? Where did my course of life, change, right? So it goes back into the communication thing.
You lose yourself.
Yeah, exactly. It goes back into the communication thing. When you bounce your ideas off back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, you keep each other at these levels, right? That slowly climb up, and you just better yourself, and the relationship obviously gets better. And then, eventually things become more inclusive towards other people, and those things get better as well too, right?
I love that.
So those are my, I would say, the most two important things in a relationship.
Okay, so I'm going to spin off that then,
Mm-hmm.
because you've spoken a lot about communication already so far. So how can someone communicate, their wants and desires, to their significant other?
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to them if they were scared to?
If they were scared to,
Mm-hmm.
Start small, and do it in just like a different way. For example, like, I know when we first started dating, you weren't super into cars, right? Cars aren't your biggest thing, right? So I started small. I knew I wasn't going to take you to a big fancy car show.
Sparks because I was with you.
Oh my God! I'm gonna put a plug on that one. Here come the bad puns.
Oh my God!
Oh boy. So yeah, train wreck right there.
Sure.
I'm joking. So, like, starting off small, allow people to actually break that open. When we started dating, I knew I was going to take you to a big car show, right? And I knew you wouldn't want to spend hours on end there because, that's not something you're super interested. So what I did was, okay, well, let's go to a car show, but not at at a convention center. Let's go to, those parking lot meets, for example, right? Pick you up, we go for coffee, and it's like, oh yeah, let's just park around here and walk around with our coffee. That was like our coffee dates, for example, watching like all these different things. Like that's a small piece of, getting that person kind of hooked. And when all is said and done, after, like, let's say, that moment where you kind of gave that person that taste of what you wanted, you just tell them, hey, I really appreciated that you came out. I enjoyed the time. It was absolutely awesome. I can't wait to do it again. Right? That little thing now kind of tells this person, they're like, wow, they really appreciated my time. And you know what? This was kind of cool. So I'm going to try and expand my horizons.
And do it again.
Yeah. So, like, start small. You don't have to go over the nines, right? And just like put yourself in a comfortable place too. And nothing that's going to make you feel super awkward. And yeah, I think that's a really easy one to do.
I really like that.
Like, I know fear of telling people a certain thing of what they want. I just know, like, just the way I picture this is that I don't have a fear of telling a person something because they're not going to bite your head off, right?
It's like, what's the worst that's going to happen is they're going to just say no.
The worst thing that can happen is say no. Now, I get it. Nobody likes denial, but you could ask them, well, just how come you're saying no? And this is where you can start conveying your emotions towards each other. And it'll allow you to open up and, make yourself feel more natural around this person. Because if you have all these things pent up inside you and you're afraid to communicate with your partner, there's maybe some things that just need to be addressed, right? And it's like, they're with you for a reason. They're going to work with you.
Yeah, exactly. Right? And it's when you kind of put up those walls and like block that communication, that's when your walls start to crumble a little bit. And like, that's when you feel detached. And that's when you feel like, like you don't know that person anymore. You don't know what they're doing anymore. And then,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the less you communicate with someone, the less you want to communicate with them over time. You know what I mean? Because it's like, oh, well, this person clearly doesn't care enough to ask me about my day. So why would I tell you anything about my life anyways, right? So it's a two-way street. So even though sometimes if we think that, you know, like, oh, I've done everything to try and communicate with you and you've done nothing. But at the same time, if I've done nothing to try and extend the communication back, then that doesn't work either.
Exactly. Building up a wall, you know, makes the communication or relationship like elevator talk. It's like, oh, how was your day? Oh, it was good. All right. And then that's the end of the communication.
Okay, let's go back to our Netflix and my Candy Crush on my phone. That was a real thing that happened for us for a while.
Yeah.
I like wanted to, this a couple of years ago, but like I wanted to like block out completely all of the world like when I came home because I was so unhappy. And so I would just like sit on the couch and we would literally be watching a show and Steve would be trying to talk to me and I would ignore him by playing Candy Crush. Right. I made it pretty far in the levels, but still not ideal.
I'm playing World of Warcraft now, so I'm joking. I only play it at school. It's okay.
Okay, good.
But
that's
no, it's totally true. It's like, and there's so many other vices that are out there that also make it hard. You know, like I've even contemplated taking social media off my phone because I know if I've done it, I can definitely communicate better with anybody and everybody, and I don't have to worry about all these outside things affecting my life, right? Exactly. I mean, I haven't done it because I was able to work with it and understand and like learn with it. But like for some people, that might be a good starting point is if you always find yourself on your phone, maybe just temporarily, you don't have to delete it, just temporary, you know, I guess you can suspend your account. I don't know how it works. Just temporarily suspend it. You could write it down just to make yourself more liable to that, like a course of action. Say, hey, I'm going to temporarily suspend it for 10 days. Start small. And then assess those 10 days and see how those things go. And yeah, I can only see going up from there. Like, I'm not going to lie. I know some people who don't have social media at all whatsoever. The only way I can communicate them with is their phone number, texting or calling. And honestly, like,
what a life, eh?
Oh man, like and the way I look at it, their lives are actually like they do really well for themselves and their personal development and their growth, and they have no problem communicating with people. It comes out just like naturally, and I'm like, you know what? I'm kind of jealous of it. So like, I kind of want to work towards something like that. You know, I think that's great. So, you know, start small again and just slowly build up to these things. And I think the biggest thing is, you know, if you can make yourself liable and accountable and go, oh, you know what? I can't communicate with my partner. Well, you know what? Let me write down in my calendar today that I just want to talk about this one thing. Let's say you have a list of 10 things, start one at a time.
Yeah, instead of like laying them all out.
Yeah, because then your partner might think it's offensive.
Yeah, and you're like, whoa, did you have all these 55 things you wanted to say to me? And you just kept them in your back pocket and like you just lay it all down.
Exactly.
No one wants that either, right?
Yeah. So nobody wants to know, and but they'll appreciate the fact that you're telling them something and that you want to make things better.
Exactly. Yeah. What do you think has been one of the biggest learnings for you when you think of our relationship?
Biggest learnings?
Lay it down.
Ooh. Just definitely being open in everything and anything. Obviously, like a lot of people are scared to talk about money in a relationship. Don't be afraid to talk about it.
It's our favorite topic.
Yeah, like that. Just don't be afraid to talk about it. If you want to make a big purchase, just don't do it on a whim. Like the other day, we were looking at sports cars, for example. You know, I was looking at a car that was $20,000, and it's like I brought it up. I was like, "Hey, look at this. What do you think?" And then I told her I'm not going to buy it.
And I was like, "Buy it."
I'm not going to buy it right now, but it again puts them in a good mindset. And I think that was the biggest thing, was being able to communicate and put people in the right mindset, so that way things didn't feel like it was an offensive, right? Things didn't feel like I was coming in strong, I'm laying down the law, this is how it's going to be, and that's it. That, because like I kind of grew up in a household that was like that. It's like it's either my way or the highway. And so now, like, having to do it on my own and learn that was a big piece. I was like, oh, okay, well, you know, I noticed it didn't work this way growing up, so I got to figure this out. I got to find a way to be able to communicate with my partner and being able to, you know, not sound like I'm coming on too strong and with my plan in life, and making it sound like it's only about me, right?
I want to quickly pause this interview and tell you about the Handel Group coaches that I've had the honor and privilege of bringing onto the Happiness Happens podcast. With every conversation and interview, I've learned something so impactful and so life-changing. Inner You Life is the online coaching course from Handel Group that gives you the tools to get yourself unstuck, wildly happy, and thriving where it matters most to you. Your relationship to yourself, career, love, body, money, time, and more. From wherever, whenever. Recommended by Hugh Jackman, Dr. Mark Hyman, Forrest Whitaker, Elena Brower, and hundreds more. Taught in MIT, Stanford School of Business, and 50 plus institutes of learning across the world. Visit inneryou.coach and use the code HappinessHappens at checkout for $75 off. Now, back to the episode.
Right? Because at the end of the day, we're a team. So, we both got to score points to be winners. Soccer.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's so nice. This is such a good idea. I'm so glad that we did this.
Right?
Yeah, I love this.
Also, side note, I was joking that she would record here and I would do like a video call across the house on my laptop and be like, oh my God, it's nice to see you again.
Hi, calling in from afar.
But we would be in the background of each other's cameras. Like that would have been so funny. Yeah.
Then everyone would have had like a nice grand old tour of our house.
Oh yeah, side note. Awkward.
Okay, let's talk about your own business. You have done a couple. I mean, you had a business last year, and then you have one that you're diving into right now.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean to you to be able to bring your ideas to life in a tangible way like this?
What does it mean to me?
Yeah. Like, how does it make you feel? Like, what is the significance of it?
I think it kind of goes to passion, being able to do one's passion, doing what you love, right? The famous quote, find a job you love, you never work a day in your life, kind of thing. It's along the same lines. I love where I work. I love the job that I have between, the 8 to 6, that I work at. But like for me, I like to do more. All right, what's more? So I kind of sat down and I was like, well, I've always wanted my own business, and what could it be? So my own business, I thought, okay, well, last year I was doing, mobile tire jobs because I like to work with cars. And I was doing it and I was like, it was really nice building a client base, making people happy. It was the customer service that really was nice. And then I kind of like, sat down again and my schedule's gotten a little bit busier. So then I was like, well, I could start it back again of trying to do these tire swaps. But then something inside me was like, well, is that really what you want to do and invest money into your business? And I was kind of sat there and I was like, not really. Like, what's my end goal? And it's basically to design, stuff to be able to sit down at an office one day, still work on cars, and make that my end goal, right? That's my real end passion, right? So that was the biggest one to try and bring my idea to life. My biggest stepping stone was, well, where do I start? Like it's kind of ironic because it was like I knew how to start with like helping your podcast and like other people's businesses and stuff like that. But what I just didn't know where to start was like designing and manufacturing. Well, I honestly don't know anybody who does any of that, right? So I had to kind of do a self-learning, go on YouTube, go on forums. If I ever met a person who was in that field, just kind of quickly poke the brain, take little tidbits of information, bring them home. And then again, it's like start off small before you do something big. Getting a 3D printer is the small scale of stuff. What I want to do is be able to take a CNC machine, which is, 100 times more the cost, right? And be able to take my small scale abilities and adapt it to, and, kind of reflect back and go, you know what, like, look where I started, look where I am now. I'm super happy about it, right? I did worked on cars like 6 years ago in my driveway, and now I'm doing it in a shop that is fully equipped, and we're doing tricked out cars for shows. Like I never thought I would make it to this point, but it's kind of crazy when you just kind of stop, take a deep breath, and just go, okay, what did I do today? And then I reflect back and it's like, holy crap, I can't believe I did that.
Yeah. No, that's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You always have that drive and perseverance though. So like for you to shift into different things isn't surprising. And like, we tend to really like projects around this house. Like we always are wanting to do something extra and something more. And I think it just comes down to like, there's so much life to live.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like there's so much you could be doing, so much you could be learning. And like, even if the investments feel like scary in what you're doing, you're investing in yourself at the end of the day. Like you can't lose.
There's a risk with anything when you invest in yourself. Another little motto is like, you want to make money, you got to spend a little money, right?
Exactly. Well, it comes back tenfold, right?
Exactly.
Once you spend a little bit of money, it comes back to you like so much more.
Yeah, exactly. So like the cost of equipment isn't as much as in the grand scheme of things, because the work you put into those equipment to give you your return, that is the nice reward that you're going to get out of it, you know?
Exactly.
So like, let's say you had to buy something for $500 to do video game streaming, and you're like, oh my God, $500. Well, if you put that work in and that time over time, and you get your donations from viewers and streamers, you know, next thing you know, you get $500 like that, and you're like, holy crap, I'm doing what I made back my investment. I'm doing what I love, so it doesn't feel like you've worked a day out of like in your life, you know. So that's definitely a good thing, is like just learn to invest in yourself. Basically, whether it be business wise, you know, doing courses, obviously like coaching calls, you know, people are doing with you, you know, they find it very rewarding building. There's a multitude of ways to do it. I think that is the best thing to do, is just build yourself. Right?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
And continuously doing it too.
Oh yeah. I think me personally, I know me, obviously, if I became complacent and was like, yeah, I'm just good with this, I'm just good where I'm at now, and I'm just good with everything, something is up.
Yeah,
something is wrong.
There's something more that you want to be doing, actually.
Like me personally, I would know something is wrong, right? So I'd rather do more to be able to give more to my community of friends and family and stuff like that. I'm not doing this all in the grand scheme of things of just me to try and be a millionaire. I want to try and build up people, build up a community, so that way we all have what we want in life.
Exactly, right? And everyone wins. Exactly.
I'd rather see everybody win than me, you know, 10 years down the road, super successful, and I just left everybody behind.
And you're by yourself.
Exactly.
Exactly. Right? Well, that's the key part about like success. It's like, well, I guess success is defined so many different ways by so many different people, but you know, is it really success if you look back 10, 20 years from now and you're all alone and you have nothing to share? You know, you have all this money, you have your this, that, and whatever, but like you have no one to share it with. Like you don't have people around you that, you know.
It's totally true, right? Like, why did you spend all this time working with people to just end up being alone? And then you just, you know, you can't talk to a machine. You can't talk to a certain piece of furniture, a jewelry, or whatever, you know, piece of art. It can convey a certain emotion towards you, but it's not everlasting, like building with a person, right?
Exactly.
And, you know, the way I look at it is relationships are always building, they're always evolving, they're always changing, they're always growing. So like when you look at it like that now, you're like, holy crap, because that's always growing and expanding. That is why you can't get bored with people, right? You can't feel like you're in a stuck position with people, right? Whereas like you buy the latest car, it's a 2019 car, and then next thing you know, 2020 rolls around. Well, unfortunately, the 2019 car doesn't change; it stays the same. And then you're like, well, crap, but the 2020 is better. You know, it's like, well, what am I gonna do now? What, buy the next one? It's like, well, why? You know, so that's why people, I personally think, together as a whole in a community as a team will always be better, right? I try and, like, you know, the people I work with, for example, if I ever see one person is like down and out or struggling with something or whatever, I would try and help them, because at the end of the day, it's going to return back to everybody. Yeah, to everybody. I'm not looking at it for just me. I'm looking at it for, you know, everyone as a whole. Yeah.
Exactly. It kind of leads to my next question too, which is like, you know, you live by this like saying of like, don't keep up with the Joneses. And how could someone actually like practice that every single day in their life because it's such a hard thing to do, because we live in such a materialistic world and we always want the next best thing, you know, especially in your industry too, because your industry is like automotive, right? Like people always want the next best car, the next best part, the next best wheels, tires, everything.
That's definitely, keeping up with the Joneses is super, like, that resonates with me, because like, don't keeping up with the Joneses actually resonates with me.
Oh,
sorry, not keeping up with the Joneses.
God.
Because if you try and keep up with the Joneses, you're almost living a lifestyle for someone else. You're not living your life. You're not doing what you want to do. You're basically just bending yourself over backwards to try and make someone else happy, right? How about, you know what, just take it with a grain of salt. Literally, just, it's a good motto. Just take things with a grain of salt, but learn to sit with what a person has told you, an opinion, right? Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has something that they've done. They try and pass off that information. Sometimes they pass it off in a good way. That doesn't make you feel like you have to act on it right away. Sometimes some people are a little bit more harsh with their delivery, and then that's when you get that feeling like, I have to do it so I can keep up with the Joneses, right? Getting to that kind of mindset is really good. Is this, like, my mindset of that developed probably like the year we actually started dating. Was because of a book you bought me, Anatomy of a Spirit.
That's the one.
It's I can't remember who the author was, but it's a really good book. So the way the book is basically, it's talking about people's lives, and these people's lives have certain problems in them. What was nice, though, it is a spiritual book in the sense, when you look at it, and it talks about certain things, talks about chakras and stuff like that. But the way it conveys the information it's not hitting you with the full spiritual kind of sense. You get this logical sense behind it. So the delivery of the book is really nice. So it's a good read for everybody. But what it was talking about was basically that if you get to do the things that you want in life, right, you don't feel so broken, right? And you don't feel like you have to break yourself apart to make other people happy, right? To fulfill their different parts of their life. So like, reading that book was like a huge stepping stone for me, because like, I was trying to have the coolest car with the coolest stuff. Like, I was trying to have like the most name brand clothing. I was trying to like be so like hip, cool, blah, 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 whatever it may be.
Girlfriend.
Yeah. You know, oh geez, got stuck with that one, right?
In a good way.
In a good way. But yeah, so like it really changed my mindset, because then I kind of looked at all these things and was like, oh my God, I have all these things, but like, I'm just trying to keep up with the Joneses, because, you know, this next car show is rolling around. I'm just trying to make sure my car looks as good as the next guy's, but I'm not doing it for myself. Right. And that was the biggest problem, is like, you stop doing things for yourself, and you just kind of look at it and go, you know what, like, I could have done so much more and so many other better things if I didn't invest my time into this kind of stuff. So a good way to start is, I like how you do it basically, is we do meditations in the morning now, right? With the meditation in the morning, a good thing that Simona likes to do is basically write stuff out in her books. I don't know.
So
I don't know what in your journals. Sorry, I don't know what you're writing personally. Like that's all on your stuff. But like,
I write anything, like manifestations, things that I want to happen.
Okay.
Clients that I'm like dreaming to work with.
So I like the one that you said, like manifestation, things you want to happen, right? So like, a good thing to do is take your little booklet and just like write little things down, or make a mental note. Say, this is my objective for today, right? But don't make it an objective that is like work-based. Make it for yourself. Like, make it a personal achievement, right? So like, my personal achievement today actually was to be able to have good time organizational and setup skills, because I know tomorrow we have a car show coming up. So if I can manage those things, that actually helps build that skill for me, right? So that's a small thing. It's small, but at the end of the day, you look at it and you're like, holy crap, that actually worked really well in my favor.
Yeah.
What can I do tomorrow?
Yeah.
And then you go, what can I do the next day? What about the day after that? Right? You build yourself again as a person. That's a huge thing, right?
I love that.
Yeah.
Did you have you ever been worried that one of us would change too much?
This is like a yes and no question, or yes and no answer. So like, yes, in the sense of like, who knows how far our passions would go and kind of stuff like that. But at the same time, I say no because like I'll stick by you no matter what, right? Like that's what it is. So, being in a relationship is like, for me, like I'm looking at this at the long haul, right? This is I'm gonna marry this person.
Endgame.
End game. You're looking at end game. That's what it is, right? Like, what is the end game of this person? If I can picture an end game, okay, then I will work towards anything and everything, no matter what, whether it be myself, for your business, whatever it may be. Like, so let's say, I don't know, your business takes off so well that you have to travel every single day across the globe, and I can't see you for 3 weeks at a time. Well, it's like, well, crap. What can I do? You know, multitude of things. Video calling, so I could still talk to you, communicate with you. And I come with you on certain trips. Are there things I can do to try and get my life up? It's like a push almost at that point, right? To push me to build up, to do things with you, is right. That's what it is. I think that's why we work so well together personally, is because it's like we never really leave each other behind.
No.
I'm not worried about changing too much, because like I know that you feel the same, is that like if you get really far ahead or I get really far ahead, that we would help pick each other
catch back up.
Yeah, pick each other right back up.
It's interesting too, because like we're completely different people than when we first started dating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But we're also very similar, like in the state, like there are so many similarities, but we're also like very different in terms of like our interests and what we like to do, what we do with our free time. Like, we live together, it wasn't always like that before, so there's so many things that have changed over the years. But no, it's so true what you're saying, and like building each other up constantly. It's not just a one-way street, it's a two-way street. Like we're both working towards the exact same end game, so we're both working towards the same goal. We're both working towards having a beautiful, successful life that we just want to enjoy with our future family. You know what I mean? Like it's not more complicated than that. When you get to wake up beside the person you love every day, how do you,
right,
how can you even complain?
And this could work in, like, even if you're not in a relationship. Let's say you live at home, for example, right? You'll see change happen around you and things like that. Don't feel like you're left behind. You still have a great opportunity. You always have that opportunity to grow. You always have that opportunity to learn. There are always people out there to help you. Right. No one wants to leave someone in the dark, right? Like I definitely don't want to leave people in the dark. I want to help that person, become what they want to become.
Exactly.
Because if that's their version of their truer self that makes them happy, then why wouldn't I want to see that person happy?
It's so true.
Right?
It's so true.
I think that's a big one.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
You're so insightful.
Oh my god.
I bet you everyone is learning so much right now.
Probably.
on this episode about you, first of all, because I mean, you never have come on here before, and like you don't really come into my stories that often on Instagram. Here and there you will, but to hear from like your perspective, like on relationships and all the different parts of it, but also how you can grow together instead of growing apart, like that's so important. And it's something that people always like forget about, that you get too busy that you have to leave everything else behind.
I always feel like if you feel like you're growing apart from a person, just kind of sit down and ask, why do you feel that way? And bring things up in a way where you can, again, not feel like you're on the offensive when you're asking this person what's going on. Be like, hey, I feel like XYZ is happening. Can we, just talk about it and understand each other? Always try and just get a feeling of understanding. Because sometimes when a person brings something up, there's like this fear of shock, like this anxiety all of a sudden just comes out of nowhere. If you ever get that feeling, just like I personally, like if I ever feel like I'm super stressed out, I just kind of stop what I'm doing. I take a huge deep breath, as deep of a breath as I can, and then I kind of just go, all right, this is the situation. Why am I in the situation? What can I do to make it better? And that's the key word, is make things better, right? Try not to say, what can I do to get out of it? Because it's like you just want to get out of it. You just run away from it. You don't want to be near it. Saying things on more of a positive note, right? What can I do to make it better? Makes it, okay, this is an issue. Well, what can I do to make it better so I could solve this issue? And then that way everyone's on the same page again.
Exactly.
Right?
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have one more question for you before my last question.
Mm-hmm.
This one came in from a #1 fan.
Okay.
This person wants to know what kind of car you're going to get after your Lexus, and they're really hoping it's not a Mazda 2.
Oh my God. Okay.
No answer?
What kind of car am I going to get after the Lexus? All right. So I was speculating on a truck. I was speculating, and then I realized I don't need a truck because, I mean, I don't really tow anything around that much. Why am I going to spend more money on a gas? The reason I want to get rid of my car is because of the mileage, or the gas mileage. And another thing is that it's older. I want to treat myself to something new. I feel like I feel like I'm warranted to treating myself to something new. I don't know. Depending on, how much I get from my car, I'll definitely finance something. Because I can't answer Mazda 2 in this question, which, by the way, gets great gas mileage if you never knew that, and rarely has any engine problems, side note. Either, what were you looking at last night?
Yeah.
No, that was your coworker. It was the Scion FRS, aka the Toyota 86 or Subaru BRZ. They're all the same cars, if you didn't know that. Just rebadged. You're looking at that as a daily driver, and then my future track car that I really want to buy is a Toyota Chaser. That's my end goal for a track car.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'll stick with my Mitsubishi.
Yeah. Well, I was even thinking about a Mitsubishi, actually.
They're really great cars.
You don't say.
Yeah.
Are they easy to work on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you met? There's a guy. His name is Mitsubishi Mike, and he's a really good driver.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
I heard
he
he's
races.
like.
He won last season.
I think he's like a Canadian retired legend or something like that.
I don't know. He might be, but you guys should all go check him out too, though.
Yeah, Mike's Mitsubishi. At Mike Mitsubishi.
Isn't it Mitsubishi Mike?
Or Mitsubishi Mike?
What is Mitsubishi Mike?
Oh boy, am I botching
okay.
this? No.
Sure.
I gotta look this up. I gotta do the shout outs, right? Otherwise it's like, oh boy, you know what I mean? Let's see. I'm sorry, Mike.
I'm pretty sure it's Mitsubishi.
He's gonna listen to this and be like, bro. Mike's Mitsubishi.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow,
yeah.
I was wrong. Okay, oops, sorry.
Yeah. So at Mike's Mitsubishi on Instagram, and you could see the greatest race car driver that's ever existed.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug.
I love it. Okay, I have another question for you.
All right.
My last question is one that I ask all my guests when they come on the show.
Okay.
No pressure.
I have pressure because I actually didn't remember any of the questions you sent me. Lack of prep.
No, there's no lack of prep at all. You're doing a great job. So my last question is a question that I ask all my guests when they come on the show, and it is, how can you create a little bit more of happiness in your life every single day starting today?
Create a little bit more happiness in your life every day starting today.
Yeah.
I think the best thing that has always worked for me is knowing that you can always go up from here. Sure, we have our, little down moments here and there, but at the end of the day, like, you're not meant to stay down.
Yeah.
So only know that you can get up from whatever people are going through, and that when you get through it, you actually come out with an achievement. So I think that's my little sense of happiness that I get. I have an obstacle in my way. I've gotten over it, and I've achieved what I wanted to achieve, and that to me makes me pretty happy.
Love it.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Oh my God.
We're done.
I would love to do it again.
Okay.
Anytime.
You can come back.
Anytime.
If you guys have questions for Steve, you can just send them to me and we'll add them to the next episode.
We could do a full Q&A.
We totally could. Let's do Q&A.
Yeah.
Q&A day.
I'm down for that.
Okay.
And again, shameless plug, Happiness Happens t-shirt. Yeah, this one's a prototype, but Simona actually has stock and inventory.
We do.
Of every size you could think of. right? They come in a cute bag with a sticker.
And a hand personalized note.
Personalized hand note. And it's not generic, okay? I've read them too. Don't get me wrong. Hell, I've sent some, all right?
Yeah, he mails them for me.
I mailed them for her, all right? Shipping ain't that bad. So honestly, just give her a shout on, where do you have them for sale?
They're not up yet.
Oh, okay.
You can send me a message on Instagram.
Instagram. Just slide into that DM.
Email me.
You know, yeah, that works out well.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much for coming on. I know this was so fun, and I'm so glad that all of my listeners get to hear you and your amazing thoughts.
Anytime. You know, the trip wasn't that far, so I was able to make it. It's no problem.
He was here on time too.
Yeah,
great guest. Yeah. So on time. I love it. And thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in to this week's episode on the Happiness Happens podcast. I hope you loved this little spin and getting a deeper dive look into our lives together. And until then, remember that happiness happens when you're least expecting it. Thanks so much for being here today. I hope these words have brought you inspiration, insight, and a bit more happiness. Please leave a comment or a review if this episode resonates with you. I would be so grateful. Until next time, remember that happiness happens when you're least expecting it.